They fired me at 2:47 on a Wednesday afternoon. 20 minutes later, their $300 merger was dead. They just didn't know it yet. My name's Leonard Garrison, Lenny to most people. 52 years old, 15 years at CoreLink Systems. For the last 12 months, I'd been the only person standing between them and the biggest deal in company history. Not the CEO, not the fancy new COO, not the lawyers billing $400 an hour. Me. The guy in the corner office nobody remembered existed until something broke at 2 in the morning. Here's what they didn't put in that termination letter. I was the only person in the building with federal clearance to sign off on the Macrovia merger. The only one. Third-party signatory, neutral witness, clearance liaison, and they just walked me out like a security threat. That morning started normal enough. 0600, old core habits die hard. I had 3 monitors open by 0630, 2 cups of black coffee getting cold on my desk, and a post-it note that said, "Ask legal about Clause 9C," circled in red marker. Behind me, the office hummed with startup energy. Project managers swaggering around, developers arguing about code, one intern playing the same 30 seconds of some song until I considered violence. I sat there reviewing the final compliance documentation for Macrovia. My name was on every page of the federal paperwork. I was the bridge between these two companies. Nobody else at CoreLink had that clearance. Nobody else wanted it. The training took 6 months of red tape and a psychological evaluation. They gave me the power, then forgot they did. I didn't mind being invisible. You get to build quietly while the loud people drown each other in buzzwords. I just wanted my systems clean, my documentation tight, and my coffee uninterrupted. Then Tate Caldwell arrived. The email came at 9:13 that morning. All hands mandatory, 10 sharp. Executive team intro plus org updates. That's HR speak for heads are going to roll. Tate was mid-40s, all jawline and caffeine, wearing a suit that cost more than my truck. He had that startup cult leader energy, the kind of guy who thinks synergy is a personality trait. He spoke for 42 minutes straight. Agility, modernization, legacy tech rot. People clapped like he was Moses with a Wi-Fi connection. I just fixed a broken data bridge nobody else knew was failing. 3 hours later, Angela from HR knocked with 2 people behind her. One with a clipboard, one with dead eyes. "Lenny, can we speak privately?" They led me into a side room. No water, no eye contact. Just a manila envelope slid across the table. Tate didn't even show up for it. The letter was corporate doublespeak, shifting core competencies. Role no longer aligns with strategic vision. I was still reading when clipboard lady said, "Badge and laptop." Before 3 p.m., the other one added, "Security's been informed." I stood up, walked to the door. On the front desk monitor, someone had posted an internal alert with my employee photo. Red letters. System access revoked effective immediately. Not "thanks for your service," not transitioning out, just a warning, like I was dangerous. I'd trained their last 3 CTOs, kept their biggest deal alive with coffee and late nights, missed my son's wedding rehearsal to babysit a server migration, and now I was a threat. I didn't cry. That would have been a gift. I walked back to my desk and packed my things. Everyone avoided eye contact. Riley Hoffman, my assistant, mouthed, "I'm so sorry," from across the floor. I gave her a nod and walked out. Then I did 2 things. First, I handed my badge to security. No scene, no speech, just quiet. Second, I sat in my truck and opened my phone. I accessed my Secure Vault app, found the encrypted key store, and deleted 1 key. Not a password, not a file. A key store entry tied to my personal clearance certificate. The one used in every Macrovia integration handshake. Without it, the system couldn't verify my identity for third-party sign-off. Without it, the merger couldn't close. Without me, they were holding a live grenade with no pin. I didn't smile, didn't cackle. I just drove away. Hands steady, eyes forward. They thought they were moving forward, but they just burned the only bridge they couldn't replace. I stood in my doorway for 5 minutes, staring at my keys. The house was too quiet. No Slack pings, no emails, no "Hey Lenny," quick question followed by 3 hours of free labor. Just the kitchen clock ticking. The box of my office life sat on the table. A mug that said "I void warranties." A notebook full of VPN tunnels and margin notes. A tin of mints from late-night system tests. All of it felt alien now. I went straight to the basement workshop, past the half-finished bookshelf, behind the toolbox. There was an old fireproof file box. I dragged it out and flipped through tabs. Legal, clearance, protocols, red flags. Then I pulled out the folder marked contingency. I'd prepped it 2 years ago. Not paranoia, just attention. You don't sit in merger calls for 12 months, listen to executives lie about redundancy planning, and not prepare for the moment they decide you're optional. The folder was thick, too thick for someone supposedly obsolete. I found what I needed, the original Macrovia protocol checklist, my name on every page. Certified third-party liaison, neutral clearance authority. I flipped to the last section, Clause 9C. Termination of named liaison without formal substitution and recertification, voids compliance status, and suspends legal standing of acquisition protocol. Plain English, fire me without replacing me properly, and the merger becomes a $300 million paperweight. No Lenny, no deal. I sat down slowly. I hadn't told anyone about this clause because nobody asked. They just handed me coffee and assumed I'd keep things moving while they posed for LinkedIn. Not anymore. This wasn't grief, this was precision. They didn't just fire me, they detonated their own timeline. And they had no idea yet. I sat there in the workshop until my phone buzzed. Mike Torrens. We'd served together 20 years ago. Different branch, same shit. He'd gotten out, built a consulting firm in Denver. We talked maybe twice a year. Always picked up where we left off. Heard you got walked out, he said. No hello. Word travels fast in certain circles. How'd you hear? Troy Kimball. We did a contract together last year. He called me an hour ago. Said Macrovia's freaking out. Said you were the only one who knew how to sign off on the whole thing. I didn't say anything. Lenny, tell me you didn't. Didn't what? He laughed. Dark, knowing. You magnificent bastard. You deleted the key, didn't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. Right. Listen, when this blows over, I got a federal contractor who needs someone with your clearance. Real work. Real money. No Tate Caldwell bullshit. I'll think about it. You do that. And Lenny, they should have known better. You're the guy who shows up. Always have been. He hung up. I sat there looking at the phone. Mike got it. Some people do. The ones who've been there, who've built things, who know what it costs when someone treats you like you're disposable. I wasn't alone in this. I just had to remember that. The call took less than 4 minutes. I didn't rehearse, didn't pace. Just sat at my workbench with the merger folder open beside cold coffee and dialed the number I knew by heart. Macrovia Compliance. This is Troy Kimball. His voice was chipper. Too chipper for a man standing on the edge of a $300 million pit. Hi, Troy. This is Lenny Garrison. Papers shuffled. A mouse clicked. Oh, hey, Lenny. I was just looking at your final checklist. We were expecting your last sign-off this week. You calling to confirm? I leaned back in my chair. Not exactly. Just wanted to check on something before I submit anything further. Another pause. Longer this time. Wait. You haven't submitted it? No. Okay, but why? His voice changed. The smile dropped. They terminated me yesterday. Silence. Like the air left the phone line. I'm sorry, what? No worries. It happens. Just thought you might want that information before proceeding. If you need formal notice, I can have my attorney draft something. He sounded like he was flipping through documents frantically. They fired you? I'm no longer employed at CoreLink. Badge revoked. Access disabled. Officially removed. But you're the named liaison. Your credentials are hardwired into the process. Your ID is in the acquisition binder. Interagency compliance flags are tied to your profile. We can't just switch you out. That's correct. I let him sit with that. I'll send formal notice shortly. Wouldn't want any ambiguity. I hung up. No flair, no dramatics. Just a clean cut through the spinal cord of their timeline. Then I called my lawyer, Patricia Brennan, former JAG officer. Didn't even ask why until page 3 of the termination letter. She understood. Military precision applied to corporate warfare. By then, she was already drafting a statement for Macrovia's legal team. Leonard Garrison no longer represents CoreLink Systems in any formal or advisory capacity, effective immediately. The moment they received it, the brakes screeched. Macrovia halted all final signatures, froze the merger account, paused fund authorizations and escrow triggers. I got a system alert 5 minutes later. Secure access handshake attempt failed. Key mismatch. Yeah, that's going to keep happening. Then I did something petty. I texted Riley. They might want to check Clause 9C. Just a thought. Hope you're doing okay. No emoji, no signature, just that. 3 minutes later, what the hell is Clause 9C? Everyone's freaking out. Did you hear something? I didn't answer. Let her figure it out. It wasn't cruelty, it was education. I stared out the workshop window. The sun had dipped behind the neighbor's roof. The house across the street still had Christmas lights blinking in March. Different uniform, same game. Stay calm. Execute the plan. No heroics. They hadn't just handed me leverage. They'd gift-wrapped it. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need revenge. I was the consequence. Tomorrow Macrovia would notice, and the screaming would begin. By Friday morning, storm clouds parked over CoreLink's headquarters. The merger signing was scheduled for 10 a.m., full executive circus, polished shoes, power ties, legal briefs lined up like dominoes. Macrovia's delegation was supposed to roll in and press pen to paper, but 10 o'clock came and went. No Macrovia, no delegation, no signatures, just silence. At 10:12, Tate stood at the front of the executive conference room, nervously clicking a Sharpie. Well, you know how these legacy firms are. Slow, paper-heavy. We'll fix it internally. He repeated it like a prayer, except the problem was already internal. 3 floors down, someone had started whispering about Clause 9C. Riley couldn't help herself. She mentioned the clause to a junior analyst who went digging through the shared drive, found a copy of the original merger protocol I'd uploaded months ago, and sent a screenshot to a friend in legal. By 11:37, it was on Slack. By noon, the panic had legs. The general counsel stormed out yelling for signatory logs. HR was in meltdown. Legal started asking who signed off on my termination. The merger lead tried calling Macrovia and got stonewalled. We are currently reviewing internal documentation irregularities. Please stand by. Corporate speak for, you screwed up and we're not cleaning it up. At 6:04 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number, decline. CoreLink CFO, decline. Third time, voicemail. Lenny, hi. Look, we just had a hiccup with the signing today. Could we connect briefly, just to clarify some details on the compliance chain? Nothing major, dotting I's. Call me. I played it once. Deleted it. They thought this was a hiccup. It was a lung collapse. I checked the Federal Liaison Registry. My name's still listed. No substitution filed. No recertification request. No alternate key. Without that key, Macrovia's automated signature sequence couldn't pass the compliance gate. No handshake, no merger, no exceptions. The more they panicked, the calmer I got, like watching a fire you didn't set, but you did remove the batteries from the smoke alarm. Riley texted again. They're freaking out. Legal blaming it. AT blaming legal. Tate says it's a temporary credentialing bug. This is insane. Did you do this? I sent back a period. Let them interpret it. I made myself a steak, watched some woodworking videos, answered emails for my other consulting gig, the one I'd kept on the side for 6 months, just in case. At 4 p.m., a mass calendar invite went out. Emergency all hands. 4:30 p.m., Conference Room Alpha. Realignment and roadmap discussion. Translation, damage control. That room was about to fill with buzzwords and flop sweat. I wasn't even on the guest list anymore. But I was watching, quiet, steady, letting the ripples spread. Monday morning at 9:06, the email landed. Subject: pending merger. Immediate compliance review required. Cold and bureaucratic. To whom it may concern. Due to the unplanned termination of the listed third-party liaison without replacement, Macrovia Group is formally pausing all executional aspects of the acquisition. Compliance obligations under Section 4.7 and 9C are currently unmet. Transaction is considered suspended indefinitely. 4 lines, no argument, no spin, the kind that makes CFOs drop their coffee. I was sitting at my workbench in jeans and flannel, pouring cream into my coffee, watching it happen in real time. The buzz on LinkedIn, finance blogs catching wind, a post from someone at Macrovia. Simply, always verify your bridges before you burn them. Perfect. Patricia sent off final documentation 30 minutes later. Fully notarized. blue ink, priority delivery. Mr. Leonard Garrison has no further professional, contractual, or advisory obligations to CoreLink Systems, effective retroactively to the date of his termination. All compliance duties tied to the Macrovia transaction have ceased. She added a nice legal flourish about proprietary knowledge and third-party vendor independence. Patricia's a pro. She knew exactly what was coming. The minute that letter hit Macrovia's inbox, the door slammed shut. Legally, structurally, practically, they couldn't just hire someone new and pick up where I left off. This wasn't a PDF they could forward. It was a hand-stitched parachute, and I'd been sewing the cords. Rip me out, and they're falling with no drag. That afternoon, I registered Keystone Compliance Group, LLC. Took 11 minutes. Registered agent. Bank account pending. Just like that, Leonard Garrison was no longer an employee. I was an entity, a vendor, a firewall with a mailing address. My phone stayed silent. No more CFO calls, no desperate texts. But I knew they were talking. I could feel the boardroom tremors from 3 zip codes away. The whispers were starting. Did Lenny have side equity? Did he build the original bridge? Was he acting as a vendor this whole time? No, I wasn't. But they wanted to believe it, because otherwise they'd have to face facts. I was just a salaried guy they ignored until I became the keystone holding up their castle. Funny how people rewrite history when the present burns. I got a text from an unknown number that evening. Just 2 words. Well played, no name, no signature. Probably someone from legal. Maybe Macrovia's COO. Maybe one of the ghosts who watched from the wings and never spoke. I didn't reply. This wasn't a game anymore. It was architecture. Clean lines, elegant collapse, a single screw removed, a single key store revoked, a signature never written. The betrayal was done. Now it was just work. Clean, simple. Somewhere downtown, Tate was probably sweating through his shirt while someone pointed at Clause 9C on a screen like it was evidence at a murder trial. I was adding a tagline to my LLC website draft. Keystone Compliance Group, built right, no compromises. It was about time someone remembered who built the bridge. It started with whispers in the elevator. Dry-mouthed, wide-eyed conversations executives think nobody hears. By mid-morning, it had become board-wide panic. Someone leaked a red-line document from Macrovia's legal team. Termination of Leonard Garrison voids acquisition standing. The phrase bounced through every hallway like a live grenade. Directors sat bolt upright. Phones rang without pause. Lawyers shouted over each other while PR frantically prepared contingency statements in case the news hit the press. It hit. A financial blog posted a blind item. Unnamed Ohio-based tech firm loses key compliance asset mid-merger. Deal in limbo. 300 balnes on the line. They didn't name CoreLink, but they didn't have to. Inside the building, the air turned to ice. The CFO called again. This time, no pleasantries. His voice was high-pitched, cracking. Lenny, I swear to God, this is your fault. You're holding us hostage. Do you understand the position you've put us in? This could kill the company. You can't just walk away. I didn't answer. Just watched the screen buzz on the workbench. Then it stopped. Then again. Voicemail. His tone had changed. Now pleading. Lenny, we're willing to be flexible. Please call me back. We can work something out. Macrovia won't accept anyone else. They keep saying material personnel discrepancy. Legal says you were never replaced. It's a technicality, right? We can fix it. Please just talk to me. Click. I deleted it without listening again. It wasn't a technicality, it was the whole structure. They hadn't just removed a cog. They'd lit a match to the foundation and acted surprised when the roof caved in. Macrovia wasn't budging. No workarounds, no acting liaison, no emergency substitutions. Their final response was 3 lines. We do not accept interim authorization under Clause 9C. Acquisition terms voided. Contract suspended. Tate tried to spin it in a meeting, said they'd rebuild the trust. Someone in legal reportedly laughed out loud. The finance lead looked like he was about to cry. Then they made a mistake. They thought they could salvage this the old-fashioned way, with charm, with pressure, with in-person theatrics. So they sent someone to my house, late afternoon. Gray Lexus parked awkwardly across my driveway. A man in a blazer stepped out, holding a manila envelope and desperate hope. He rang the bell, waited, rang again. I was inside, lights off. sitting in the workshop with a beer and classic rock humming in the background, flipping through licensing terms for a new client inquiry. He knocked. I didn't move. I watched him on the doorbell camera, pacing, checking his phone, muttering. Finally, he left the envelope wedged in the screen door and drove away. I let it sit there until the wind blew it off the porch. I didn't need to open it. I already knew what it said. Apologies. Offers. Vague hints at reinstatement and restoring alignment. They still thought this was about a job. They didn't understand I'd already built a new world from the pieces they threw away. This wasn't a grudge. It was just done. By Tuesday morning, the tone inside CoreLink had gone from damage control to full cardiac arrest. The board called an emergency session. No PowerPoints, no catered breakfast, just red faces and clashing egos. The kind of meeting where people talk so loud you forget there's a fire. Tate sat at the head of the table looking like he'd been hit by a truck. His swagger was gone. His voice cracked. He started with, "I think we may have underestimated the depth of Lenny's legacy role." He didn't get 6 syllables in before the lead investor, Oliver Dane, slammed a folder shut and leaned forward. "Who," Oliver asked quietly, "authorized termination without transition planning?" Dead silence. The general counsel looked at his shoes. The CFO went pale. One board member coughed into her sleeve like it might protect her. Tate tried again. It was a group consensus based on performance metrics and Oliver raised one hand. No more startup talk. No more buzzwords. A $300 million deal is dead. Macrovia made it clear they won't re-engage without Lenny's credentials. You didn't fire a developer. You severed a compliance artery. So I ask again, who signed off? The silence did the rest. Someone in PR had leaked a screenshot from the internal alert system. My photo. The red letters, system access revoked effective immediately. It landed on LinkedIn with the caption, "How you treat your veterans tells the rest of us everything." It exploded. Former employees chimed in. Clients quietly screenshotted it. Even Macrovia's CCO liked the post, which sent legal into a tailspin. Someone printed it and brought it into the boardroom. Nobody wanted to look at it. Nobody dared throw it away. That afternoon, Tate sent a formal offer through HR. Double salary, title bump, enhanced authority. The email hit Patricia's inbox like a Hail Mary wrapped in tinsel. She forwarded it with one question. Want to ghost them or write back? I told her to write back. Her reply was surgical. Mr. Garrison appreciates your revised offer. However, he no longer holds employee status at CoreLink Systems. Should your organization wish to re-engage his expertise, Keystone Compliance Group LLC is available for limited licensing of relevant services. Market rates apply. Retainer required. Engagement subject to availability. Short, clean, no drama, just facts, no more badge, no more politics, no more tape. That evening, CoreLink's internal chat exploded again. The offer had leaked. Someone in HR, probably fed up, pasted the response into a staff thread. It circulated faster than any memo Tate ever wrote. The narrative flipped. The same people who'd barely looked at me now whispered my name like a myth. Not just that guy from compliance, but the man who brought the merger to its knees without raising his voice. Riley messaged again. "You really said double it and walked away, huh?" I didn't reply. She wasn't wrong. I hadn't burned the bridge. I just turned it into a toll road. 2 weeks after Riley's message, someone knocked on my workshop door at 8 p.m. I checked the camera. Tate Caldwell. No suit this time, jeans and a jacket. Looking smaller than I remembered. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. "Lenny, Tate, can we talk?" "We are talking." He looked past me at the workshop, the monitors, the half-finished bookshelf, the Keystone compliance paperwork on the bench. "I didn't know," he said finally. "I didn't know you were that important, that the whole thing would collapse without you. That was the problem. I'm sorry. For what it's worth. It's not worth much. But I heard you." He nodded, started to leave, turned back. "You could have told them, before you deleted the key. You could have warned someone. I could have. But would anyone have listened? He didn't have an answer for that. You know what the difference is between us, Tate? I spent 15 years building bridges. You spent 6 months burning them. Turns out one of those strategies works better." I closed the door. Through the window, I watched him walk back to his car. He sat there for a minute before driving away. I went back to my workbench. back to work. Some people learn, some people don't. Either way, wasn't my problem anymore. It ended not with a press release, but with a whimper. Macrovia officially pulled out on a Thursday morning. The statement hit the wire at 7:13 a.m. Due to unresolvable compliance gaps and personnel discrepancies, Macrovia Group has terminated its acquisition proceedings with CoreLink Systems. We wish all parties well. 4 sentences. Cold. Final. By 9 a.m., CoreLink stock was in freefall. $300 million in projected value gone like smoke. By noon, someone leaked the investor call transcript. It was brutal. The lead investor screamed. The general counsel deflected. Tate apparently left mid-call with the mic still hot. I watched the CFO resign via webcast. Pale, hollowed out, delivering the usual lines about new opportunities and family time like anyone believed he was fleeing anything other than a smoking crater. I never re-entered the building. Not when they sent another courier with a new offer. Not when the interim CTO asked for a quiet conversation over coffee. But I did answer the door Friday morning. A courier handed me a small package, no sender label, just a discreet return address I recognized from Macrovia's executive suite. Inside was a handwritten note on heavy cardstock. Next time they'll know who built the bridge. J. Coleman, CEO, Macrovia Group. Below it, my phone buzzed. LinkedIn connection request from the same name. No pitch, no ask, just recognition. The kind that doesn't come with confetti but lands like a gavel. I pinned the note to my workshop board, right between the old CoreLink badge and the Keystone Compliance Operating Agreement. Then I walked back to my workbench. My workshop didn't smell like burnt coffee and recycled ambition. It smelled like sawdust and control. 3 monitors lit up in front of me, none connected to Slack, none tied to anyone who could call me legacy. Keystone Compliance Group had just signed a 3rd client. One of them was CoreLink. They didn't want to, but they needed to. They were licensing one of the old integrations I'd architected, the very same infrastructure they'd deemed obsolete, now critical. And I controlled the access keys. I charged them 4 times the original rate. No complaints. Because this time, they knew. 3 months later, I drove to my son's new house on a Saturday afternoon. Danny met me at the door. "You actually came." Said I would. "Yeah, but you always said that before." He wasn't wrong. 15 years of, "I'll make it up to you," and last-minute cancellations. Emma was in a playpen in the living room, 8 months old, all gums and giggles. I picked her up. She grabbed my finger. "She likes you," Danny said. "Smart kid." We spent the afternoon in his garage. He'd bought some tools but didn't know how to set up a workbench. I showed him, measured twice, cut once. Old habits. "You seem different," he said after a while. "Different how?" "I don't know. Calmer. Like you're actually here." I set down the drill, looked at him. For 15 years I missed things because I thought I was building something that mattered. Turns out I was just building something for people who didn't give a shit. So now I'm building something for me, for you, for her. I nodded at Emma, asleep in the playpen. "The check for the down payment," Danny said. "That was from your new company? First client paid out last month." "The old company?" "Yeah." He smiled. "Jesus, Dad. Language. Baby's sleeping." When I left that evening, Danny walked me to the truck. "Thanks for coming. And for staying. I'll be back next month. We'll finish that workbench. I'll hold you to it." This time, I knew I'd show up. 6 months after the termination, I got an email from Riley. Subject line, update, and apology. "Hey Lenny, hope you're doing well. I left CoreLink last month. Got an offer from a startup in Austin. Better pay, better culture, and they actually seem to value experience instead of just talking about it. I wanted to apologize for not saying more when they walked you out. I was scared. I was young. I should have stood up. But I learned something watching what happened after you left. People who build things matter more than people who talk about building things. Anyway, if you ever need an assistant again, you know where to find me. And if not, I just wanted to say thank you for teaching me to document everything and for showing me what it looks like when someone knows their worth. Take care. Riley." I read it twice. Then I wrote back. "Riley, no apology needed. You did what you had to do. Glad you got out. Keep building and keep documenting. Lenny." I didn't offer her a job. She didn't need me to. She'd already learned the lesson. A year after I started Keystone Compliance Group, I had 12 clients. 4 of them were former CoreLink competitors. 2 were companies Macrovia had introduced me to. 1 was the federal contractor Mike Torrens had connected me with. I worked from my workshop, set my own hours, took Fridays off to work on the bookshelf I'd been building for Danny's house. Some mornings I'd see LinkedIn posts from CoreLink, new hires, new initiatives, rebuilding stronger than ever. Tate Caldwell was gone. Quietly pushed out 6 months after the merger collapsed. No farewell post, no goodbye party, just gone. The company survived. Barely. They'd pivoted, restructured, brought in new leadership, but they never recovered what they lost. Not the merger, not the valuation, not the reputation, and definitely not me. Mike called one afternoon while I was sanding the bookshelf. Heard CoreLink's paying you now. 4 times what they used to. He laughed. You magnificent bastard. I told you they'd figure it out eventually. Eventually. Listen, I got another federal contract coming up. Need someone with your clearance and about half your patience. Interested? Send me the details. Will do. And Lenny, good to see you land on your feet. Not everyone does. Thanks for the heads up on Troy. And the contractor. That's what we do. Take care of our own. After we hung up, I stood there in the workshop looking at the bookshelf. Almost done. Emma would be walking by the time I gave it to Danny. Thought about Mike's words. Take care of our own. For 15 years, I'd thought CoreLink was my own. My team, my people. Turned out I'd been wrong about what own meant. People sometimes ask if I regret it. Walking away. Deleting that key. Letting a $300 million deal collapse. I tell them no. Because here's what I learned. You can spend 15 years building bridges for people who don't know they're standing on one. You can miss weddings and birthdays and quiet Saturday mornings because someone else's emergency became your responsibility. You can be invisible and professional and reliable and essential, and they'll still walk you out like you were the problem. So when they do, you have 2 choices. You can beg for your job back, accept their apology, go back to being invisible, or you can remember that you weren't just an employee. You were the bridge, and without you, they don't get to cross. Last week, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone I didn't know. Saw your story on a blog somewhere. Anonymous, but I knew it was you. I'm in a similar situation. Been at my company 11 years. They just hired a new VP who wants to clean house. I'm scared. Any advice? I thought about it for a minute. Then I wrote back. Document everything. Know your leverage. Build your own bridge. And never let anyone make you feel small for knowing what you're worth. He responded an hour later. Thanks. That helps. I closed the laptop and looked around my workshop. The morning sun was coming through the window. My coffee was still hot. The bookshelf was finished, wrapped and ready for delivery. And somewhere on my workbench, next to the Keystone Compliance paperwork and Danny's latest photos, was that note from Macrovia's CEO. Next time, they'll know who built the bridge. I picked it up. Read it again. They knew now. They all knew now. My phone buzzed one more time that morning. New email. Subject, respectfully requesting your terms. Another company, another integration project, another bridge that needed building. I set down my coffee, opened the laptop, started typing. Not chasing, not celebrating, just building. That's what I do. I build bridges. And this time, I own the toll booth.